very good to have all of you here. At the moment, we are around 25 participants, so I think we'll wait for a little bit more, give people the chance to join. As a note, as you see on this slide, also this session will be recorded. Yeah. So in case you're uncomfortable, there's a chance to switch off your camera. We will later make available the recording on our website and YouTube channel, but only the presentations itself, not the Q&A sessions.
Sure, but you can also do the same thing. They just need to be careful, but they can still live and act.
Yeah, welcome once more. I think we should probably start because we have a lot on our agenda today. Welcome once more. As I said, the session is being recorded. Georg, if you could advance to the next slide. The one with the housekeeping rules. So just some housekeeping rules. If you have questions, you can use the chat box to ask. Please keep your microphones muted when you're not speaking. You can also raise your hand during the Q&A sessions to ask questions. We encourage you to switch on your camera during the Q&A sessions to ask questions. So wonderful to have all of you here. This seminar has the title National Approaches to Map Land Degradation, Lessons Learned from the UNCCD 2022 Reporting Process. And I'm very glad to have 3 presenters here today, Dr. Ingrid Teich, Misuna Mokoc, and Tashi Wangdi. We will introduce them later. I think I will not say very much. If you have questions about what the LDN flagship is all about, please find the first session of this online seminar on our website and YouTube channel. So there you can find also some more information about what we're doing, what GEO-LDN is all about. But without much further ado, I think I would like to hand over to Dr. Ingrid Teich for the first presentation. Ingrid is a very well-known researcher and biologist. She does a lot of work in the field of LDN. She has done work for FAO, WOCAT, and others. Ingrid, please, the floor is yours, and please also introduce yourself once more. And we are excited to hear more from you.
Thank you, Bernd, and thank you everyone for joining. I will share my screen. Please let me know if it's working. Yes?
Yeah, it's working.
You can
Excellent.
See? I think you already introduced me, but yeah, I'm very happy doing this work, supporting in the last years in different countries and projects in how to meaningfully map land degradation. And so I will give a short and brief introduction, hopefully, on how important participatory processes are to integrate national data and expert knowledge. And it's been not only in to report to UNCCD, but for other very key and crucial things that we need to do to achieve LDN. So, as Bernd said, the idea is to build on what the previous seminar what we talked about in the previous seminar, but just I guess that most of you know, but in case you don't, LDN is one of land degradation neutrality is one of the targets of SDG 15, the custodian agency for the indicator that is proportion of land that is degraded over total land area.
Sure.
The custodian agency for this indicator is the United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification, UNCCD. And land degradation neutrality, in particular, aims at really anticipating where degradation will occur and to plan for counterbalancing this degradation. So we know we will continue degrading land, but we really want to achieve a net zero degradation. No? So the idea is that's why we have a balance there, no? To achieve neutrality is what this means. So for that, we really need reliable maps of land degradation. And the keyword here is reliable, because mapping land degradation is not easy. It's a process that changes in time and space. It's even considered a perception. So different people can perceive or might not agree, even experts on the field might not agree if there is degradation or not. So if we have to map land degradation at national scale or even at global scale, using satellite images, for example, or remote sensing information is even harder. So it has been recognized actually by the World Atlas of Desertification and many institutions and scientists, and that mapping land degradation globally by one indicator is not possible. So this idea of convergence of evidence is a principle that actually brings in different perspectives, and different data sets from biodiversity to soils to climate-induced changes and fires. And this is how we work a lot from WOCAT with countries and trying to include different perspectives and also local knowledge. But this is not easy, of course, and it's done usually with a long process, with co-development and integration of context-relevant tools and data sets and participatory process. And this is very key to have ownership of the data and really have meaningful and reliable information. And for this, we are using cloud computing, and in particular, Google Earth Engine, as you will see us with the examples that my colleagues from Turkey and Bhutan will show you, that we found Google Earth Engine a very useful tool, and in particular, the applications, not only the whole capacities of Google Earth Engine that range from accessing really a lot of data sets and using the computing power, but also these applications facilitate for non-experts to be able to visualize, explore, and make decisions on what are the best approaches to map land degradation in a particular context. But as this idea of bringing different perspectives is very challenging, and we know that for reporting to UNCCD and reporting SDG 15.3.1, there is a standard methodology which can be found in the good practice guidance developed by UNCCD, which uses these three sub-indicators: trends in land cover, trends in land productivity, and trends in carbon stocks. And we have been supporting for price 4, which is the last report that countries had to submit to UNCCD, different countries. These are 6, for example, in Panama, Colombia, Ecuador, Bosnia, Turkey, and Bhutan. And in general, the approach, of course, things differ from one country to another, but the general approach was to have a participatory process, where stakeholders and not necessarily GIS experts were involved. So we had different days where for each sub-indicator, we would look at the theory, how it's calculated, find the best data available, discuss what was more relevant for the country. And I will not go deep into this because we have concrete examples that Turkey and Bhutan will present. But this is important, that this workshops was not about the tools, but it was more about making decisions using the knowledge from the experts in the country. So Tuna will talk a little bit about how Turkey, for example, mapped the trends in land cover, degradation due to changes in land cover, and all the steps that are usually followed to be able to improve the default data, because the reports have default data with default methods and default estimations that countries are encouraged to improve. So from choosing the best available data, selecting an appropriate legend, defining which are the key degradation processes in the country, selecting which of these the transitions are positive or negative, and validating in the field. All these different stages can be, well, not validating in the field, but can be done with a group of experts who know the territory. So some results from these 6 countries that I just mentioned is you can see that some of them use national data, some of them use the default data, but reclassify in a different way. Turkey, for example, used regional data that soon I will talk about, or also Bhutan used the default data, but reclassified with a different legend. And different legends that include different classes, land cover classes, that would allow the countries to map their main degradation processes. And as I said before, we use Google Earth Engine apps to facilitate this process, because they are very user-friendly. Regarding trends in land productivity, we made a lot of effort because this is a very important indicator, and there are different algorithms and different data sets that can be used. And really, depending on which one you use, you can have very contrasting results. So for example, using the default data, that is the one produced by the JRC, at global level, we have approximately 7% the degradation. Or in particular in Bhutan, it accounts for 1.4 degradation. This is for the baseline period. But if you use, for example, the land productivity dynamics map that is computed by default in trends.earth, in trends.earth, you can parameterize it in different ways and obtain different results, but this will be like the default version of the trends.earth algorithm. These numbers change a lot. So we go from 7 at global scale to 16, and for Bhutan, we go from 1.4 to 9.6. And also in FAO and WOCAT, we did an alternative LPD map at global scale, which is also available, and it's in Google Earth Engine. And we developed together with Conservation International this app, where everyone could, many countries used it to compare how estimations would change. You can see that, for example, with this land productivity dynamics map, global degradation goes up to 26%, and in particular for Bhutan, it would go to 11.5. So which is the best map? This is what we were doing in the countries. Now, bringing the local knowledge where they, for example, in Bhutan, could ask these questions, explore, and this is what Tashi will further present. And for example, in general, all countries found that the default data was the least representative one, that was usually very optimistic. And in general, the WOCAT FAO LPD performed better, but also the trends.earth LPD map was chosen by some countries. And there were very big differences from the default estimation. So for example, in Panama, you can see that you go from 9.4 to 35% degradation for the baseline. And because countries and experts know that this is an underestimation, and the challenge is always how to bring this perspective, how to bring this knowledge, how to integrate the national data. And also, even if there is no national data available, you can compare and choose from the different available data sets that might be global, for example, for LPD, the one that is more representative, and that way improve your estimations. The same way happened with Colombia, where from 7 or 8%, it went up to almost 30%, which is what the national experts know that is happening in the country. The same with Ecuador, Bosnia, and for Turkey and Bhutan. I will let my colleagues to present more in detail, and for the two first indicators, how it works. So that's all from my side. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ingrid. That was some very interesting insights into the process of mapping land degradation in different countries, but also the importance of including local experts' knowledge and how different the results can be, what it can mean for reporting. Thank you very much once more. And let me hand over to, well, I think there are some very urgent questions we could ask them now, but I would prefer actually to have one Q&A session after the three presentations where we discuss the three presentations all together. So let me welcome Ms. Suna Morkoc. She's a forestry and environmental resources specialist at the Ministry of Environment, Urban and Climate Change in Turkey. Suna, very happy to have you here today. Thank you. And let me hand over to you for your presentation on Turkey's experience to estimate degradation, and especially the land cover sub-indicator.
Thank you so much for having me today. You already introduced me, and I would like to also welcome everybody today. Should I share my screen, or we are just gonna go over?
If you want, yeah, feel welcome to share your screen, and then controls in your hands to proceed.
Okay, that would be
the slides.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So is it good? You can see my screen now?
We can.
Cool. So today I'm going to be talking about our country's experience to estimate degradation due to land cover change, and also I would like to talk about a little bit about the importance of field validation and the local knowledge. For us to maintain long-term co-development of land degradation neutrality decision support system, we have been working with FAO experts for more than 2 years so far, and we know that to maintain this co-development, to maintain this co-work, the participatory workshop and the field validation and also hands-on trainings are the key process to achieve this good work. As also Ingrid mentioned, UNCCD actually expecting countries to report the SDG 15.3.1, which is the proportion of land that is degraded. We actually try to show degradation based on 3 indicators, trends in land cover and land productivity, dynamics, and also soil carbon stocks. Today, I'm going to be talking about the trends in land cover and how we actually map land cover, the degradation in land cover. Briefly, I would like to briefly talk about the process we have been actually conducting. Our first land cover workshop, actually it was held in last June 2022, and followed by a field trip, and then the final decisions were made in a participatory workshop in last December. So during my presentation, I'm going to follow the DOSE approach. As you all know, there are multiple actual land cover data, such as Copernicus, Korean, or European Space Agency data. But it was really important to select the legend which allows us to monitor the key degradation processes. And the land cover changes in land cover actually lead to degradation or improvement, or it might be a neutral. And the lastly, I'm going to be talking about the importance of field evaluation to produce the best representative like data for our country. So after after the field validation and the workshops, we decided that the best available land cover data for Turkey is actually current land covered data, which actually consists of 44 subclasses, and it also the 100-meter spatial resolution land cover maps. These are available for many countries in Europe, as you see below. For actually in 6 years, starting from 1990, 2000, 2006, 2012, and 2018. What we have done here is actually we use Coring classification, Coring classes, 44 classes, and we compare those classes with our national classification and monitoring system. Turkey is actually working on to produce their own national classification system. It's not, I mean, we haven't finalized it, but we have our classes. So what we have done here is that we compare Coring classes with our national classification system, so that at least we can use our national classification. So once we choose the land cover data for Turkey, we have and then we conducted multiple workshops to actually identify the land degradation processes due to land cover change in Turkey. As you see, in our workshops, the groups actually groups consist of different people from different backgrounds, like forestry, agriculture, or grasslands, the experts from different backgrounds. They produce the most appropriate legend to monitor land degradation process in Turkey. As you see, that workshops are really useful. It also have Turkey, for me, especially I'm the prize reporting officer, it helped us to easily engage those workshops with the prize reporting a platform. It was really helpful to carry those information to those systems. As you may imagine, reclassification of Coring data was not easy, because it was 44 classes, but UNCCD want us to categorize it into 7 classes. All these work and workshops have been done to produce the best classes for Turkey. And if I wanted to give you some examples, for example, the Coring classes 3.2.3, and also sclerophyllous vegetation and transitional woodland were actually controversial to reclassify because it was either as grasslands or tree covered the areas. What we have done in those workshops to describe or identify those classes in Turkey circumstances. And we run detailed analysis of alternative reclassifications of Korean land cover classes. And while we are doing this, we use our Google Earth Engine application to show and to look at that land cover transitions. Also, the official national estimates of forest area and agricultural land were taken into consideration in the analysis to contribute to the alignment of the result with national statistics. So as I mentioned, we identified a best reclassification of Korean land cover classes into 7 UNCCD classes. And we did this like after conducted the field trip, the field trip. We actually like visited 30 sites during this like a field trip in the central Anatolian like region. So as you see, there are like 3 different maps. Actually, the data was the same, but the reclassifications were different. Like map A, it shows like the default reclassification, and the B shows like a Turkey reclassification, and the C shows like the Turkey adjusted reclassification. That's the one like that we use as a final map. We did like those reclassifications, like, you know, after the workshops and field trip validation, like it shows like a different maps. And I wanted to show you like our platform here, decision support system. As I mentioned before, decision support system was built under the project of, you know, contributing to land degradation neutrality, target setting by demonstrating the LDN approach in the Upper Sakarya Basin for scaling up at the national level, GEF-funded project. So here we actually like built the second application's platform to compare those land cover maps. As you see, like 2 different land cover results here, it allows us to see the differences for different reclassifications. It also like allows experts to compare the three different results here. So in one of our like the participatory workshop, the groups, a group of people, they actually they actually like produced a transition metrics which are linked to a degradation process. So as an example, you know, like the cropland to transition from cropland to tree covered areas, while it was considered positive for one group, for the another group, it is negative. So those workshops like were really important because experts like work in the groups according to their expertise, like their background. As I mentioned like before, like there were people from forestry, from agriculture, from grasslands, there were like professors or like governmental offices. So it was really important for us to put all these information together to produce the transition metrics, like based on like different approach from different backgrounds. So what we have seen at the end of the workshop is that the transition metrics produced at the end of the workshop was actually different than the default one. So it was really important for us because you know, even though we haven't have our national, you know, data, but we try to do our best to produce the best representative data for Turkey. So the last part was like a validation of the data. The field trip actually was done, you know, to validate the transitions map and the different possibilities of reclassification of Korean data. As you see, like 2 different maps. In the first one, the first one, it seems the area seems like forest. In the second one, between 2000 and 2012, and the second one, it seems the grassland. In the field validation conducted like in 2022, the study shows that the site change hadn't occurred and actually it shows the stable tree covered area. That area was like stable tree covered area. So that shows us the importance of validation studies in this region. So if I would like to mention like why all these like workshops and field trip was like really important for us, because if when you use the default data, you see the proportion of land area with degraded land, it was like 0.9%, but when you use the reclassification, when you use the reclassified the map, and actually that number changes like from 0.9 to the 7.5, the proportion of land area with the degraded land cover. So it was really important for Turkey to have this experience. It was a good opportunity for us to work with a GEF-funded project and also FAO experts to know and have to approach to produce the best data under the idea of the reporting, SDG 15.3.1. So thank you so much. That was the Turkey's like experience. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Suna. That was very interesting to hear about Turkey's experiences in this field. I mean, some of the things are recommended by the good practice guidance, I guess, but it's good to see them being done in practice, because I mean we have shown us the difficulties which can arise when you have existing land cover classifications, how to reclass them, also what different transitions can mean, and why a discussion about the transition matrix is so important in the country or in the planning context, and as well how important it is to validate data in the field. So thank you once more. And I hope we will have an interesting discussion with experts from other countries after the 3 presentations. So let me hand over to Mr. Tashi Wangdi. He's a program director for National Soil Services at the Center of the National Soil Services Center at the Department of Agriculture, Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock of the Royal Government of Bhutan. Tashi, we are excited to have you here today. Tashi will present participatory validation and alternative land productivity dynamics maps produced in Bhutan. Tashi, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Before I go to my presentation, let me take this opportunity to thank for organizing this seminar and also giving us the opportunity to share our little experience that we have gained during the process of our national reporting to the UNCCD. Of course, I'll be focusing only on the land productivity dynamics, but as shared by the experience shared by Suna, we have gone through the whole process, but for this seminar, we will be presenting only on the topic that is flagged there. Actually, for Bhutan, we were a bit worried actually because of lack of information, national level data, and national capacity to generate, analyze, and process the report in general. So we were a bit worried as to whether we could meet the reporting deadline. But with the funding support from GEF enabling activity and with the support, of course, from the VOCAT, especially in particular Ingrid, we have done a great job. We are very happy that at least with Ingrid's help and of course with our own national experts, we could complete this very important national reporting exercise within the deadline given to us. So I will just briefly present our experience on this particular subsector, sub-indicator, this land productivity dynamics. So next slide, please. Yeah, just for by way of information, I would like to highlight few things regarding Bhutan's joining to the UNCCD. Bhutan ratified and the UNCCD and became its party in August 2003, and since then we have worked on a number of national action programs. The first one we developed was in 2009. Then later on, as we are asked to align with the 10-year strategic objectives, we aligned that in 2014. Following that, and almost in parallel, we also volunteered ourselves to be one of the LDN pilot countries. So we have developed our own LDN voluntary targets in 2015. And since then, we have been working on that. And for UNCCD, our center under the Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock is the national focal agency, and I'm currently working as national focal point to the UNCCD, and I've also worked as the national reporting officer to the national UNCCD national reporting for 2022. Next, please. I think Ingrid did mention about the differences in terms of the figure or data. For Bhutan, in praise during the previous reporting, the baseline, the proportion of land, degraded land was 9.9. But as you compare for praise 4 baseline, although the default data source was same, JRC LPT, but I think there is a huge difference in terms of figure from 9.9 to 1.4. So there is a huge change, quite significant change. So this could be because of, as I understand, could be because of the change in algorithm from praise 4 to praise 3 to praise 4. And this has prompted us actually to think and see how we can improve the default data and our estimation. So that was one of the reasons why we have requested WCAT support in terms of improving our national data and reporting, especially on this strategy objective 1. Yeah, among other reasons, this was one of the main reasons why we wanted to work and improve our national reporting data. So next, please. Yeah, for SDG 15.3.1, there are, as we are all aware, there are 3 sub-indicators. One, as an example, was presented earlier. So for Bhutan, now I'll present our experiences on this trends in land productivity. And as we also know that this is a very important indicator, and for Bhutan we feel not only important, but and we also felt that it's very complex actually to generate and to compile information for this particular sub indicator. And as I said earlier, we have in fact very limited national data for this sub indicator in particular. So we really had to look for the best available data and also the methodology that we adopt for our national reporting. So the best available data are the options, the different LPT maps that we have. And also the best one was the participatory process, as explained earlier. So basically we followed this participatory process in terms of working and coming up and improving the estimation. Next slide, please. So these are the participants or the stakeholders. In fact, there were, we had national experts from 8 key agencies. and we dedicated 4 days with the support from Ingrid. So we spent 4 days together, working, discussing, working, and trying to improve on this. And this was very important because we had very limited time, and there was a huge time constraint for us to complete this assignment. So we went to a very secluded place to work and give our full effort and time. So, so we worked in a very fully participatory manner. Next slide, please. Yeah, there were during these 4 days there were several working sessions, and the particular session relevant to this topic was to work on the LPD maps to select or identify and look for the best representative LPD map for Bhutan. So we used Google Earth Engine application to compare and validate the maps. These were some of the questions that guided us in terms of, during the working session. Next, please. Yeah, so as I said earlier, we had participants from 8 different agencies. So each agency, we worked on different, we identified different areas. For instance, we identified 5 areas from the forestry agency. They worked on degraded forest areas. Mining from areas was worked on by participant from mining agency, and likewise livestock on overgrazed grasslands. So basically, we identified these areas and used as a basis to compare the 5 different maps. So next slide, please. Although I'll not go in detail, but for forestry group, they looked at the degraded areas like forest, the area affected by forest fire, and and another area infested by bug beetle. And then they also looked at the area where timber extractions are going on. And in particular, they also looked at the timber extraction using this environment-friendly so-called using cable extraction. And then they also looked at the area where there are hydro power plant constructions are going on. So basically, a forest area group, they looked at these areas, and likewise, the livestock colleagues, they looked at the grassland area where there are instances of overgrazing because of highland animals, lowland animals, and also there are problems with the wild animal grazing as well. So livestock colleagues, they looked at the grassland, and for agriculture colleagues team, they looked at the agriculture areas where they have made some interventions to see the changes. So agriculture group, they worked on that. And then the mining group, they looked at, as I said earlier, there are 2 sites. 2 sites where the mining is still going on, and one the mining site is inactive. So they wanted to compare between the sites. And the last one was worked on the settlement areas by colleagues from National Land Commission and the National Statistical Bureau. So basically, we had 5 groups working on different areas. Next slide, please. So just to show one example, the output of one of from our group working sessions. Now, if you look at here, you could see 2 degraded areas. One, as I said, is still active. So just to compare between 2 LPD maps, LPD map 1, we thought there is a good representation of what is happening on the ground, as compared to the LPD map 2, which is really underrepresenting. So as you can see in LPT map 2, even if the area is degraded, it is showing either stable with stressed or declining. So LPT map 2, so we have compared with all the maps, and here we are just showing as an example. So so based on all this, next slide, please. So based on the observations, findings, and also the output from the 5 groups, the final decisions that we have made are the LPT 1 and LPT 4 in general found to be performing better in terms of capturing the land degradation processes. But in all the all LPT maps, especially in terms of urban expansion, urban development in settlement areas, there was a quite good indication or representation by all the maps. But we found that LPT 2, which is default LPT, was giving the least representation because it was not really capturing the degradation process as we see it on the ground. And also the LPT 5, we found it quite over, estimating over degradation. So LPT 2 and LPT 5, we found it not at all representative. So and the other thing that we would like to highlight here is, now we have made several investments in various areas, but still in some in our maps we could not see this impact. Maybe because I think it would it's requiring some longer time period, as some reports mentioned that it would require at least 10 years to show impact on LPT indicators. So maybe because of that we are not seeing the impact. But we have seen that these are not really captured by the LPT maps. So next slide, please. So finally, sorry, we could not change that. There is slight mistake. So based on our findings, our comparison, we the participatory process, the team we have selected, we have unanimously decided to use LPT 1. Sorry, we have made a slight mistake there. So we have selected LPT 1, which is FAO WOCAT LPT for praise for reporting. Next, so these are the maps. Although we may not, it's difficult to see a significant difference on the map, but if you look at the figure, we could see. So this is the final figure for Bhutan. The overall proportion of degraded land over the total land area. The baseline, the default estimation was 1.4, and our estimation through this participatory process has come up with 11.9%. So we could see, of course, I mean, we are not saying that this is the perfect and the best estimation, but this is what we could come up at least for this reporting, praise for reporting. But there are a huge opportunity to improve, and we are trying to work further on this. We have already scheduled LDN mapping and monitoring training starting from May 1st to May 5th, and Ingrid will be here. So we are very much looking forward to this training and to improve our estimation further in future. Of course, we will have to keep on working with support from relevant stakeholders and agencies, both within and outside our country. So this is the final, and then next slide, please. Yeah, this is the final slide. So we are, as part of our long-term collaboration and cooperation, we are working on this LDN GSS, which will be very important platform for us to build our own database, and also which will help us in so many ways in terms of project planning, decision making. So we are also, this is one product that we are really looking forward and to finalize and operationalize very soon. So this will also be looked into in greater detail during our upcoming training. So I think this is the end of my presentation. So thank you very much for your active listening. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Tashi. That was a wonderful presentation. Very interesting to hear about your experiences in validating alternative land productivity maps in Bhutan. And I think some of your findings also need further discussion with regards to those LPD models within our leads group and so on. Yeah, so you presented land productivity dynamics, and as you said, it's a very complex indicator with the different sub-indicators again, or different models you can use to calculate it. So to use in-country knowledge and also to validate data and choose the right models for your context, I think we have seen how important that is in SDG mapping and monitoring. So I would like to hand over for some concluding remarks. And as you know, GEO-LDN is mandated by the UNCCD to help them or help the parties of the convention in monitoring and mapping. So we are very happy to have Olga Andreeva here from the UNCCD Secretariat, a soil scientist. Olga, please, we would like to get some concluding remarks from you. Thank you.
Yes, hello, dear colleagues. It's very nice to me to present here today. And first of all, I would like to say thank you very much for your great presentations and taking into account that the complexity of the indicators, different processes in the countries, and for challenges for land degradation mapping, we really appreciate the great work done. As far as I know, all the countries were faced these challenges in land degradation mapping, and so it is very important to make such expert exchanges of knowledge and of experience, field experience, and to bring it to the science community and to the stakeholders. So I will say just some words, not to take much time. So I really think that this seminar has demonstrated the importance of multi-stakeholder participatory process for the selection of the most appropriate data sources and to verify the reliability of land degradation estimates. And it is, as it was said, it is very important to bring all experts and stakeholders together in this process. And so, as I said, the participatory process are even more important in designing, implementing, and monitoring interventions to achieve land degradation neutrality, which require engagement and participation of all local stakeholders groups that may impact or may be impacted by the LDN policies and measures. In its capacity as a custodian agency of CDG indicator 15.3.1, the UNCCD supports uptakes by countries of observation data for setting LDN targets and monitoring process. And we're really looking forward for your support and for your estimates, and not only for the reporting process, but for this even more important land-based data. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Olga, for your concluding remarks. A big round of applause, of virtual applause again for our presenters today. I think it was really a good combination of presentations. Thank you also on behalf of the GEO-LDN Leads Group and the Secretariat, the people you see here on the screen. And that brings us to the last slide of today. Please stay tuned for our next seminar in May. You may have seen it in the chat. We will very likely have a seminar on the postgraduate study course at the University of Energy and Natural Resources in Ghana. For you to know, the call for applications for participation in this postgraduate study course has been reopened. So if you're interested in such a study course, please do check the website of the UENR, University of Energy and Natural Resources in Sunyani, Ghana. And we will post more information and also talk more in depth about the study course in May, so a few weeks to go. So yeah, let me thank you once more for your participation. Hope to see you again in May. All the best to you, wherever you are on this blue planet. Thank you and goodbye.